Hi, Bruce. Thank you for being patient. What would you like to talk about today?
Hello.
Bruce? Hi.
Solipsism, kind of.
Okay.
Kind of.
Well, I'm just an average Joe, so could you give me a good understanding definition of it first and see if I've got it right?
I'm an idiot. You go, Drag.
So my understanding of solipsism is that it's the idea that we can only be sure, each and every one of us, that our own mind exists. Other minds out there, Shannon's, yours, Bruce, anyone else's, may be a figment of my imagination. It could be anything. So, that's kind of like the core tenet of what a lot of people talk about. And so there's no real way for me to validate that your mind exists at all. So we all just sort of sit around and pretend, at least, though each and every one of us is a unique being with our own mind and not just, I guess, philosophical zombies. I think that was a phrase someone used years ago. But yeah, that's essentially my understanding of it.
I agree.
I've heard the philosophical zombies statement, but I don't know anything beyond having heard it.
That's a bit of jargon.
Okay.
That's not in any textbook, I don't believe. I heard someone use it years ago, and I've always loved it. So
Still having a hard time wrapping my head around it, but thanks for that.
well, no, I wouldn't think about it too much. But so, what about solipsism? Did you want to sort of get at?
So, in that case, could we put the idea of solipsism or the concept of solipsism on the same shelf as the concept of infinity? It's a useful idea to have, but it may not be real. It may, I don't think that made sense.
I wouldn't. So, if you're talking about infinity, are you not talking about like mathematical infinity, because that deals with limits, and that actually does have a function within the realm of mathematics. Are you referring to like an actual infinity, like as far as the universe being infinite? Like, what do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, like the philosophical, if I'm understanding correctly, there's a difference between the philosophical meaning of nothing and then the colloquial meaning of nothing. Yeah.
Right. I don't think there's really anywhere that. Well, now I guess we are because we started talking about infinity. Now we're talking about nothing, which they are actually the same thing. So help me. I'm trying to parse out what you're getting at, because if we're talking about infinity as far as a universe, well, that would be something, right? So can you help me sort of or rephrase what you're getting at?
Yeah. So Lawrence Krauss, when he's had his talk in his book about a universe from nothing, he's using nothing differently than philosophy's nothing. Yeah. And so,
yeah,
as you're saying, mathematical infinity is different to how I might, average Joe, say infinity.
Sure, it's contextual.
Yeah. So we can put solipsism in on the side of philosophical nothing or mathematical infinity.
What? Why are we
solipsism in the same sort of realm as mathematical infinity?
Contextual usage?
Are we just talking about difficult to cognitively grasp versus philosophically possible? Is that what you're saying? That like solipsism and mathematical infinity and philosophical and philosophical nothing are all difficult for us as humans to grasp and understand, and that's the category that you want to put them in?
Kind of.
Okay. Or you don't think that any of them are actually possible? They're only philosophical concepts? I'm just trying to figure out what this category is that you've said infinity, nothing, and solipsism all belong to X category. What are the properties of X category?
I'm saying so. Drag was saying that mathematicians say that infinity is a useful thing and it exists in mathematics. And
Okay.
in philosophy, the idea of nothing exists as a useful idea.
Okay. Yeah.
And so can we put solipsism into the
Philosophically useful
think of a
idea
third
category?
category of possibly?
Yeah, because that's how you described the other
I
two.
suppose it would go
You
in
said useful idea
philosophical.
mathematically, useful
Yeah.
idea philosophically. So you just see it as you see solipsism as a useful idea. Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Not saying,
Sure.
hey,
It's
have
useful
I
idea.
solved solipsism, but is that a kind of valid way of looking at it?
That it's a useful idea? Sure.
Yeah, I mean that's what philosophy is about. We're trying to discern, good ideas, bad ideas. Trying to, what is knowledge, as opposed to what some people would call mere belief. And even if we're talking about solipsism, well, when we get to theories of mind, well, why not talk about, what a mind even is? We were talking about earlier. Hey, can minds exist without a substrate? So I think it is a useful thing to sort of discuss. I'm not sure if anyone's really, doing any research into solipsism, but I think
What
it
would that
is
even
something
look
that's
like?
yeah. But I mean, it's something pretty cool to sit back and think about. I don't really I don't know, or I'm not aware of any real applications of solipsism other than just sort of a kind of a cute thing to bring up every so often. But I think that there is more utility in talking about infinities as opposed to that. But then that's based on my personal taste and what I find most pragmatic over just having intellectual fucking navel gazing.
And there's so much of that. More than enough of that to go around already.
I suppose then at a personal level, would I be on the right footing to say that solipsism then is just a concept? It's not. It doesn't match reality, or it's not real.
I think that when we start going there, that's sort of a dangerous territory because we don't actually know. Like I can say right now, I know my mind exists. I would love to say Shannon's mind exists within the body that people have yet to see, and yours as well, Bruce. But I don't know that. I actually do not know that. There's no way for me to peel open your skull and see your mind, right? So I think understanding solipsism as one of our many limitations is sort of useful to sort of humble us as the wise beings that we've named ourselves after.
It's kind of a reductio.
Oh, I'm not in that boat. Yeah.
So solipsism is like is something that like people trot out to say like, how do you know anything else exists as a mental exercise? And the interesting thing about solipsism is that no one, like you, Bruce, you can't say with any degree of certainty, like Drag just said, that other minds exist. You can provide correlative evidence saying I interact with people, but you can't do anything or I feel things or whatever. But you can't do anything to provide some sort of evidential grounding that even itself isn't a product of your own mind, which is the only thing that you can demonstrate exists, which is one of the interesting things about solipsism, is that you can't really argue your way out of solipsism. It's like with this little weird mental trap.
Fall into it.
Yeah, but it's interesting to explore. Like, there's other arguments some people may have. Like, I'm not philosophically inclined, but it's a fun mental exercise. But when you say that it isn't reality, then you're definitely in that trap, because how do you know that that isn't reality?
Doesn't match. It doesn't match reality. Like, if it's
What reality?
something.
How do you know what
real,
reality is?
We can pretend. Yeah.
How do you know what reality is?
Because it's what's around me. It's yeah.
How do you know what's around you?
Yeah, I'm not.
Sucks, right?
I get it.
Yeah.
It's once you hit that, you kind of go, well, ploin.
I don't know what you just said.
So
Coin?
I think that, we all would love to believe that each and every person has a mind and is beautiful and all that jazz. But this is a very real limitation. It's something that we don't deal with, right? People that don't even discuss or know about philosophy, TM, aren't even familiar with this concept. And so they're going to behave the same way. But even those of us who are aware of, the problem of hard solipsism, we don't act any different. And so that's the fun part. And I see what you're getting at. There is no real practical application of this, that at least that I'm aware of. And so when you say it's not reality, I think you're saying reality as in the colloquial reality, as in throughout your day-to-day ongoing,
Yes.
right? You're not going to encounter a situation where you have to guess whether or not this is just some figment of your imagination or what. I get that. But with that being said, this is a real problem for everyone that none of us really have to deal with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Living my life like I'm a solipsist is indistinguishable from living my life like I'm not a solipsist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Cool. Did that help?
It's just that I've been in discussions. No.
No?
Kind of. It's just I've been in conversations with theists, and the one of the very first things they spin the cannons on is solipsism, and I'm just like,
That's a consequential thing, though. They do the same thing with morality. They're well, if your position's true, then solipsism is true, and you don't like that, right? You don't like that, so it can't be true. So I'm like, well, both of us could equally not like it, and it'd be fucking true. So that's not really an own. That's just you appealing to me, maybe disliking the potential state of being that would be the case, or is a possible case, if my position is true. And it's not the only position either, right? Solipsism isn't a definite, it's definitely solipsism is it. We're all brains and bats. There's alternatives to that. It's just, it's not a trump card, and it's certainly not the trump card they think it is, because if you look them in the face and you say, yeah, we're just brains and bats, what do they have to say about it? What? And now what? And what? Therefore, God's real because you and I both don't like that? Who cares? What did you just prove? Nothing. You just proved both of us don't like this.
I encountered the brains and vats solipsism stuff probably early, say 2010, 2011, when the precept stuff first came around, and it was pretty funny because the people that I was discussing this with insisted that they had solved the problem of hard solipsism. I was like, I'm just starting to learn it, and I'm just like, wait, hold on for a second. This has been a problem for well over 4,000 or 5,000 years now. That okay, fine. How did you do that? Oh, God told me. Oh, God, your God told you that you're not a brain in the vat. Yes. Does God exist outside your head? Yes. Okay, I'm done with this conversation. There we go. So that's every single time they have to defer to, even because I will grant them the God, but the God exists outside their mind, right? That's an external mind. Well, then there we go, right? You've won. Here's your PhD. Boom. There. That's it. And it's like, if you have to appeal to another mind, then how is that any different from me appealing to the next mind that at least I know exists in a corporeal form? And so it's not a defeater by any means. And I've even heard it brought up recently where the theist was trying to shoehorn it in the conversation where it didn't belong. And it's just like, this is a cute parlor trick for people who haven't heard it or who are not familiar with it. Those of us who at least know a little bit about it know that everybody has that issue. Everyone's in the same boat. And it's nothing to bring up unless you're trying to impress somebody that is a philosophical white belt, I guess. Other than that, it's worthless.
I'm a philosophical white belt, and that's generous.
I don't,
super generous.
Yeah, I don't even have the belt on at the moment.
I don't even know what a belt is.
Yeah.
But no, you're thirsty for the information, right? You want to engage in this, and that's the start.
It's like the first time someone threw it at me, I went, "That's really interesting. How do we test it?" Sort of thing. That was my, because I didn't know. That's
I don't think you can.
like
Really.
still kind of my answer.
It's like the first time somebody encounters pre-sap or a flat earther. Like, how the fuck do you counter this? You know, you don't go through your day-to-day life as a normal human trying to figure out how to counter this shit, because it doesn't matter really in your day-to-day life until you enter in these, like Drag says, navel-gazing intellectual circle jerks that people on the internet seem to enjoy so much. In which case you kind of do, and they're interesting intellectual exercises, but they're not much more than that, really. Like when it comes to living your life day to day, whether or not you are or not a brain in a vat is ultimately kind of inconsequential, because like I said, like living your life as though you are and aren't is that they're indistinguishable from one another.
Right. I mean, there's some great intellectual pursuits, especially philosophical ones that people can explore. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Then potentially be Neo in the Matrix.
Could be.
So if you were a brain in the vat, you could then potentially be Neo in the Matrix. Yay.
Yeah. God could be a brain in a vat, and all of us are just part of his solipsistic experience. Right?
Yes, but then if we're a brain in a vat to God, who's a brain in a vat, then where is God's vat and who's looking at his brain?
Solid question.
Brains in vats all the way down.
There you go. Turtles all the way down. There you go.
I think we'll leave on that because I like that. Thank you for calling, Bruce. Have a good rest of your day. I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah.